This is an SWX Sports presentation. Drive for the title. Dancing in the Desert. Powered by Coeur d'Alene Casino. The Final Four. The summit of the college basketball universe. A place where only a select few can take pause from the long hike to the top. To look back to where they have been.
Is it something for the team to cherish for the rest of their life?
For Gonzaga, the path to Phoenix stretches back to the days of Fitz and Stockton, Monson and Calvary. And now Mark and a few good men. The Zags have doggedly climbed this mountain. Generation after generation of Bulldogs blazing this trail. And now that Gonzaga is finally here, they have no intentions of turning back. The thrill of the improbable has given way to the promise of the impossible, a national championship. But Gonzaga isn't the only uninvited guest crashing this party. South Carolina has also been pushing blue bloods off the Red Rocks to reach this rarefied air, where only one can be left standing. The time to reflect has passed. The moment of truth has arrived. The Final Four is finally here. And Gonzaga's drive for the title starts right now.
And we are back live here in Glendale, Arizona, home of the Final Four. It all starts tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock at the arena right behind us, and we can't wait.
Listen, Dan, when I do this, we dance.
Okay. We don't mind dancing in the desert when it comes to Gonzaga basketball, that's for sure. We have great team coverage for you tonight.
And we're so glad you're with us throughout this special. Of course, we do and need to talk about South Carolina, the Gamecocks. We'll get to know them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
we want to begin with a very special interview we had an opportunity to do last night, an interview with Dan Monson. Many of you who have followed Gonzaga basketball know that he was the head coach back in 1999 when they took it all the way to the Elite Eight, kind of set the stage for the success that we've seen in the years that have followed. But we want to take you back to a simpler time with Dan Monson and Mark Few and Billy Greer.
When they weren't making any money.
Assistant coaches under Dan Fitzgerald. As assistant coaches, they decided, let's go to the Final Four, which is not uncommon.
No.
They said, let's road trip, Final Four. Again, they're assistant coaches, not a lot of money, maybe not a lot of smarts.
No.
We heard from Mark Few yesterday at his press conference that he said, you know, we did something we probably shouldn't have done on our way out the door to the Final Four. Listen to this.
Dan got the bright idea to leave on our old school answering machine, like, hey, we're out of here. We're going to a Final Four, and we'll be back on Tuesday. You know, we'll come rolling back Tuesday. Our entire place, they stole everything. But you know, we left our papers on the front. We left everything. They took everything. There was nothing left, and. Yeah, so you need to ask Dan about that.
You know, it was just stupidity. It was just young guys that were so excited that we're going to the Final Four that we actually were bragging about it basically on our recorder, saying, you know, something to the effect of, we've gone to the Final Four, don't rob us while we're gone. And somebody obviously called and found that out, and we came back and the place had been somebody had gone through it. That was something that we won't ever do again.
It was a simpler time for assistant coaches Monson, Greer, and Few, bonded by more than just basketball.
They were fun days. People thought we were crazy because you're spending 12, 14 hours in the office together, and then you go home together. Mark was kind of the ringleader of being able to change it from work to play. Mark was very inspirational to me to not lay on the couch. He was we have to have 3 activities a day. That's a good day for Mark Few, and when we were young, I was trying to get a run in the morning and then go play tennis or basketball in the afternoon and home run derby at night or whatever. We didn't really look at ourselves as working together. We just played together.
Was there a belief that you would all be successful?
No, not really. We had no vision really at that time, but to just try to make Gonzaga better. And I think that vision of trying to make it better is what's made it where it is today. You know, the continuity has been a big factor. And then again, this is Mark Few's vision. I mean, he's the one that looked at it and said, we can beat the Pac-10 back then, those days. Pac-8 even it could have been, I don't know. But we don't need to recruit against, the smaller schools. We need to recruit against the bigger schools. And he almost got defiant to where he wouldn't recruit a kid if Washington or Washington State wasn't interested. And that kind of attitude has gotten it to where it is today.
Yeah, no question. It's that culture that was created so long ago that continues today and now finds itself in the Final Four.
Well, if you think about it like this, Coach Few has been asked by many teams to come coach them. I mean, he could have left us a long time ago for the money. He chose Spokane for the culture that we have there. But then you think about all the players that could have left to go anywhere else to work, whether they're playing basketball or not. They choose Spokane to make it home because there's a pride in our city.
And you hear Coach Monson say it's also about family. And
Absolutely.
The family has reunited again here this week in Arizona.
That's right. And so have the fans, because Fan Fest is pretty much out of control right now with a lot of people from Spokane and around the entire nation rooting for the Zags.
Yeah, we had our hand at hockey, football,
we did everything
basketball.
Today. You shot your three-pointer against Spike.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. In the meantime, though, we're going to head on over to Lindsay Joy, talk with her about some sports. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Steph. Well, you guys are talking about building the culture of this program. Here they are, a 1 seed at the Final Four, of course, taking on 7th-seeded South Carolina. And Frank Martin, the Gamecocks head coach, was asked today how his team matches up with Gonzaga. And, he started by saying, I'm going to make a bold statement and say that's a really good basketball team. But then he went on to explain just what makes these Zags so good.
They play every play the same way. They don't make mistakes. There's no bad body language. So if they're down 6 or up 6, it's the same team. It's not, their sense of urgency is the same way for every play. And that's why they're so good. And we got our hands full, but we're also thankful for the SEC that they presented unbelievable challenges for us every single night that prepared us for moments like this.
Well, Martin also said, I've gotten to know Fewey pretty well. That's how they know each other, is he calls him Fewey. And he said he's as competitive as there is, but he also has an even keel to him. So maybe we'll see that even keel on display tomorrow when South Carolina and Gonzaga go head-to-head here in University of Phoenix Stadium. Of course, tip-off set for 3:09. It is the first game of the Final Four. Oregon and North Carolina will follow. In Glendale, Lindsay Joy, SWX.
We're dancing in the desert, just 21 hours away to tip-off. Ahead, Sam Adams sizes up the competition. He goes straight to the source for the lowdown on the Gamecocks.
Plus, can't make it to Phoenix but don't want to watch from home? We have some of the best places in town for your whole family to root on the Zags. But next, is divine intervention playing a role in the Zags' run? Why one family says the team has a 6th man with them on the court.
Welcome back live here to Arizona. This is a little bit like the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when the Seahawks were down here against the Patriots, in that as we got closer to game time, you could see more and more people come in.
Well, more media presence as well. If you're hearing chatter beside us, that's because there are a lot of media coming from all over the world to cover the biggest game in basketball.
Yeah, so the question tonight, has there been divine intervention for these Zags?
Well, Katie Chen says absolutely, especially for one family.
Oakley has been sporting the Zags all week long at Cooper Elementary, especially in this area of his classroom.
This has become my dad's corner.
And in that corner is something very special.
Yeah, this is the ball they presented him this year.
Adam's father, John, was honored at an exhibition game at the beginning of the season. For 18 years, John worked in the background, keeping score for his favorite team. 5 days after that ceremony, John passed away from ALS.
There's a big void for our family this year watching this run.
This season has been an emotional one for Adam, one that he knows his father would have loved.
As excited as we are, it's kind of heartbreaking to think that he's missing it. We have to choose to believe that he is experiencing it with us.
As an angel, watching from above, something Adam thought during the West Virginia game.
Matthews hit that 3, and then for the next minute, I think the two of us must have said, all right, Dad, play some defense.
And we all know how that ended.
It's hard to believe that something isn't bigger going on.
After all, the Zags are a family that will always stick together, especially ahead of the Final Four.
I'm hopeful that there's a whole bunch of angels upstairs helping.
In Spokane, Katie Chen, KHQ Local News.
Oh, great story.
Question.
Thank you, Katie.
Jesuit school filled with faith.
What do you know about South Carolina? The team, the basketball
That
team.
it's below North Carolina.
I know. Well, that's pretty good, but we're going to find out much more about their basketball team right after this.
But I was like...
And welcome back live here in Glendale, Arizona, as we await the Final Four tomorrow. You know, I have to admit that I didn't know anything about South Carolina. I watched the game last weekend when they beat Florida, and I got to admit, they looked pretty good.
You got to brush up on who your opponent is going to be. You got to know their weaknesses, and you've got to know their strengths.
And for that, we go to Sam Adams, who went straight to the source.
All right, folks, we're ramping up our coverage as we continue our countdown to Saturday's historic Final Four between Gonzaga and South Carolina, two teams who find themselves here in the Final Four for the first time in program history. And one guy who knows South Carolina, the opponent, very well, Brad Freilich. He is the sports director at the NBC affiliate in Greenville, South Carolina. Brad, thanks for joining us. First thing we want to do is we welcome you to the show. You know, Gonzaga, Spokane, they went crazy when GU punched its ticket to the Final Four. I'm wondering what the reaction was there in South Carolina when the Gamecocks got that invitation to go to the Final Four.
Well, Sam, the reaction was incredible. The Gamecocks have never been here. So really, there's been a great reaction each of the last couple of weekends because this is a team that was just lucky to get in the tournament. This is a team that just making the tournament seemed to be good enough to get in as a 7 seed, but then they win the Greenville, come out of the Greenville regional here, beat Duke in that regional, and then go on to New York City. A great reaction, obviously, with each win in New York City, and then there were probably 3,000, 3,500 fans waiting outside of Colonial Life Arena in Columbia when the Gamecocks came back home. It has been pandemonium with Gamecock fans because this is uncharted territory for this program.
And Brad, since you've been following the Gamecocks every step of the way, what is something maybe the fans in Spokane should know about South Carolina as we get ready for the weekend?
Well, this is a team that has started to take the personality of its coach in Frank Martin, a team that plays with a lot of toughness, a team that is a little bit undersized down low, and that's something obviously for South Carolina fans to be concerned with going up against a team like Gonzaga, but a team that is not afraid of anybody and a team that's not going to go away. They're scrappy, and that in their guards are old. Their guards are seniors, with the exception of P.J. Dozier. He's the young one, but Sindarius Thornwell, Dwayne Notice, and Justin Mackey are all seniors. So they've got a senior group at guard, which obviously leads to success a lot of times in the NCAA tournament.
Well, Brad, Gonzaga obviously used to going to the NCAA tournament 19 years in a row. South Carolina hadn't won an NCAA tournament game before the season since 1973. Do you think that's going to have any bearing on what happens here in the Final Four on Saturday?
I think that's the question everybody is looking for the answer for. How exactly did this happen? How did a South Carolina program that has really been in rebuilding mode for the last 5 years not just break into the tournament, but now make a run like this? And I'm not sure there's a great answer for it other than they've gotten hot at the right time. This is a team that once they beat Marquette in Greenville, got some confidence. And then after the first half against Duke, they were down by 7 at the half, knew they could play with the Blue Devils, and then came out in the second half and scored 65 points en route to that win. Once they beat Duke, I think they felt like they could beat anybody, and that's the way they've been playing since beating Duke. That's the way they played in New York City. I don't expect anything less there in the desert.
Brad Freilich, thank you for your insights. Best of luck to the Gamecocks Saturday against Gonzaga in the Final Four.
Well, best of luck, but not a whole lot of luck.
Not
right?
really, no.
Come on,
Whatever.
All right, more coverage right after this. And we are back live here in Glendale, Arizona. Does it seem like that everybody's down here for this game? Because we've been on the freeways here, and they have been packed.
No, I think it's because this is a bigger city than Spokane, and there's a lot more traffic, that's for sure. But you know what? If you're not down here, and there's plenty to do in Spokane.
Some great places to watch the game tomorrow.
That's right. And for that, we got a Nicole Mischke.
I have the 6 best family-friendly locations to witness history and the making. My recommendation with all of these places is that you show up as early as possible to make sure that you actually get a seat. Let's start with the first one, and that's Epic at the Northern Quest Casino in Airway Heights. They have a huge 30-foot by 10-foot big screen. They open at 7 a.m. The second place is the Ref Sports Bar in the Spokane Valley. They offer 20 screens, and their doors open at 11 a.m. Morty's Tap House and Grill on the South Hill is a great place to go. They have 15 screens and they open early at 7 a.m. Kids are only allowed, though, until 9 p.m., but that should give you plenty of time to watch both games. The Buzz Coffee House and Bar and Lounge, this is the new location. It's in Southeast Spokane, right off I-90. They have 5 screens and open early as well at 6 a.m. Capone's Pub House and Grill, this is in Post Falls. They have 19 screens to watch the game, and they open at 11 a.m. And then last but not least, the Garland Theater, plenty of seats. They're having a watch party. Admission is free here. Doors open at 2 p.m., and concessions will also be available. So with that, go Zags. I'll send it back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Nicole. So the game starts a little after 3 o'clock tomorrow. When's too early to start the watch festivities, do you think?
I'm wondering what everyone's eating. That's what's most important. What do you bring into the game? You got to have some good food.
I think tonight is a good time to start on the on the food and the festivities.
Not like we haven't already started.
All right. More coverage coming up right after this, live from Arizona. And welcome back. You know, Gonzaga big man Shema Karnowski is getting a lot of attention down here. But the question is, where'd they find this guy?
Well, Tommy Lloyd actually found him. He was at a championship game in Germany, a U17 one. He was there actually to scout Kevin Pangos one. Well, the big man from Poland caught his eye.
Oh, you gotta love these pictures. Weird to see him with the clean face, no beard. They say Karnowski could have gone pro as a teenager in Europe, but Mark Few and Tommy Lloyd knew that, well, Gonzaga would be an easy sell if he wanted to go to school, and we're glad he did.
Very glad he did. We're very glad you're here. Don't forget to be here tomorrow. We'll have an AM show.
7 o'clock. Hope to see you then.
See you bright and early. Go Zags.